Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel Pigskin Addicts, back again with another video. So if you guys are not on Twitter, some interesting stuff happened over the weekend with Breiden Fehoko. We all know him, number 96, big defensive tackle for the Chargers. He pissed a lot of people off on Twitter, and he really really marked himself for a lot of ridicule. He really put a big target on his back. The reason why it's unexplained, I have no idea why. But in case you guys haven't seen the tweet, I'm going to post it here so you guys can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. Been on my chest. I absolutely dislike and discredit analysts who have never played a snap of football. You can analyze and sound intelligent all you want, but if you've never played a double team on power, press man against Tyreek Hill, or orchestrate a 2-minute drive, please shut up. Now, that was a very, very loaded statement from Breiden Fehoko. And before I even really get into this, right, Fehoko is a guy that has played well. He's played well in his 2 years as an undrafted free agent. I like him. I think he brings a lot to the Chargers. But this is absolutely absurd coming from a undrafted, not just undrafted, but unproven player in the NFL. You cannot take these type of stands if you are not a superstar player in the NFL. It's just not the way the league works. In the NBA, you have far more leniency, right, to speak your mind about different things, right? Even if it does go against the grain, right? Most of the time, if you don't say anything, too polarizing, right? Most of the time you're fine, right? The teams, the league, that's what the NBA is about, right? It's about, pretty much being yourself. The NFL, you kind of have to, toe the line. And it is what it is, right? Whether it's right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, that's the way the NFL is, right? And you cannot be a guy that is not a star and create a distraction, right, in a locker room for any team, right? You just can't do that. There have been guys, who have maybe, should have gotten a chance to play again, right? If maybe a Colin Kaepernick, maybe a Tim Tebow, right? Two guys kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but both of them faced a lot of scrutiny when they played, right? And both of those guys really can't come back, right? Even if Tim Tebow was a decent or serviceable backup quarterback, you don't want that guy in your quarterback room, right? You cannot have your backup quarterback getting more headlines than your starting quarterback, right? No matter who that person is. So you can't be somebody who plays a bit part, but you go out and piss everybody off, right? And this is one of the negative sides of social media, right? Especially when it comes to team sports. You can't say things like this on social media, receive the backlash, and then, come into the building and act like everything is okay, right? You're going to piss people off, right? And in football, there's so many people on your team, right? There's 52 other guys on the roster, right? And that's not even including, the guys who are in and out, right? The practice squad guys, all of that stuff, right? That's not even including them. It's not including coaches. It's not including front office people. Everybody has their own belief system, right? Everybody has, their own way of thinking. And if you go online and if you make statements like this, right, you are going to piss people off, right? You're going to piss people off who are, possibly were previously in your corner. You're going to alienate them. You just cannot do this. You absolutely cannot do it. It's ridiculous, and I don't know why he did it, to be honest with you. Now, the point that he was trying to make in the tweet, it's something that has been talked about for as long as I can remember, right? And far even before, I was even thought of. It's the whole thing about, should you be able to criticize, should you be able to opine about football, particularly NFL football, if you've never played in the NFL, right? That's been a tale as old as time, right? A lot of players have talked about it. And a lot of people have really given their opinions about this. And this is something I think that needs to go away. It kind of just needs to go away. When I was younger and I would hear players talk about it, it made sense to me. It made perfect sense to me. But as I've, matured and, learned more about the game, learned more about the coaches, learned more about the GMs, learned more about people who are in charge of making, billion-dollar decisions, right? Most of these guys have never strapped up the helmets at all, right? Some of them have not even played college football, and there's even a few who have never even played football at all, right? But that doesn't make their opinions, it doesn't make their decision making any less potent or powerful just because they didn't play, right? Obviously, if you are involved in the NFL, if you're on TV, if you have a sizable platform that you speak, right, that you give your opinions, that you analyze the game, right, you have to know something about it, right? You don't just get people off the streets and tell them to go in there, hey, you talk about this, you talk about that, right? If you're on a big network, if you have a platform, if you have a lot of followers, you know something about the game. And you cannot criticize those people just because they didn't play NFL football, right? A lot of these people know what they're talking about. And I think one of the biggest things about this tweet that Breiden Fehoko, and I'm sure that he wasn't going for this, but it offended a lot of the women who are involved around the NFL, right? The women who cover the game, right? The women who are analysts and stuff like that, right? And I'm not an activist of any sort, right? I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, we need women here. We need people of color here. I'm not that guy, but there are women around the sport who have covered the NFL for a long time. They've covered the NFL way longer than Breiden Fehoko has ever been a part of the NFL, right? And they're going to still cover the NFL once he leaves the NFL. So you cannot alienate these women just because, they've never played a down of football or whatever, right? And I'm not saying that he was, but that's how it was taken. And this is the bad part about social media. This is the bad part about Twitter, right? You only have so many characters. Context is king around what you're saying, and you can't really give a great description of what you're talking about in so many characters, right? You need to sit down. You need to talk about it, right? You need to be able to voice your opinion, to make sure that it comes across clearly, right? And I get what he was trying to say, but he offended a lot of people in the process. And again, you just can't do this as an unproven player in the NFL. It's not going to go over very well with anybody. Now, conversely, right, to the point that Fehoko was trying to make, right? I've seen some of the worst takes from former NFL players, right? We've seen it all season long. The Emmanuel Acho thing, we already know this as Charger fans. Shady McCoy, he's on the same show. They don't talk good football on that show. Both of those guys really don't know what they're talking about, right? And they both have played the game. They have both played in the NFL. Shady McCoy played in the NFL for a very long time, right? Super Bowl champion. He doesn't know the game all that well, and you can tell, right? They come out, shooting from the hip, right? Hot takes. They're not analyzing things, though. They're not really, giving you that NFL meat sandwich that Colin Cowherd calls it when he has Greg Cosell on, right? Greg Cosell of NFL Films, another guy that has never played football, but he can go to a board. He can break down exactly what an offense, what a defense is doing. He can do all of that stuff, right? So a lot of these people, you find a lot of the people that have never played football know the most about it, and they know about it from a very minute, from a very cellular level, right? They have that knowledge, and those are the type of people you can learn a lot from, right? It doesn't matter if you played or not. Once you listen to those guys talk, and once they break things down, you can learn a lot from them, right? You can learn a lot, and I think that's all that really matters. If you put the work in, if you try to learn the game, if you try to learn something new about the game every single day, right, you're going to be fine because you're going to learn stuff, right? Constantly, staying on Google, whatever you got to do, right? This is what these people do, right? They put in that work. And I'm not saying I'm on the level of any of these people that I'm talking about because I'm not, but I've clearly never played a down in the NFL, but I have learned so much about this game, right? Having this channel is I've learned a lot, right? I've learned a lot watching tape. I've learned a lot just in general about the game, right? And I plan to continue that, right? I want my knowledge to be up there. I want to continue to gain knowledge, right? I want to continue to learn from other people, right? A lot of you guys in the comments teach me a lot as well, too. So this thing is a very, very, very fluid thing, right? With your knowledge about football, you want to get up there. You want to know as much as you can. And I don't think shaming people or trying to gatekeep who is able to talk about football is a smart thing to do from an unproven player. Now, if Mr. Fehoko hasn't gotten a call yet, he will. I'm sure he will from either Brandon Staley, Tom Telesco. They want him to shut his mouth because, listen, man, Again, I like Fehoko, but you can be gone in the blink of an eye. You were undrafted. You don't have any, clout in the NFL, right? You play the run, okay, but the things that he described, playing press man against Tyreek Hill, he's never done that. Orchestrating a 2-minute drive, he's never done that as well, too. Like, he is talking about things that he has personally never done as well either. So when you're looking at this and when you're trying to understand what he was saying, again, I understand the point that he was trying to make, but even still, right, it doesn't make it okay that he's on here just yapping like this, right? This is not a good look. It's not a good look for any player. This wouldn't be a good look for Aaron Donald. But if it was Aaron Donald, we would all have to shut our mouths and say, this is the great Aaron Donald. This man is getting a Hall of Fame bust. The second he retires, they're coming to his house for his Hall of Fame bust because he will be in first ballot, right? If this is Aaron Donald, if this is Chris Jones, two-time Super Bowl champion Chris Jones, right? We would not like it, but we would kind of have to say, this guy knows what he's doing. He's one of the best. Again, maybe a potential Hall of Famer. When you're an undrafted, unproven guy, who doesn't start, right? You can't really get this off. And again, if you want to be a social media star, right, be a social media star, but you cannot do this and play in the NFL at the same time. This is going to come back to bite you in the butt. Players who do this type of stuff, it never works out for them. Ever works out for them. You have to toe the line. If you have, your opinions and all that stuff, it's fine. But you typically cannot have these type of reactions. You cannot garner this type of negative attention on social media. You can't have all of these professionals in the quote comments, taking shots at you, right? You just can't have it, and it's a bad look for him. And I think the Chargers are going to step in at some point if it continues. It seems like he has kind of pivoted away from that. But again, man, this is just not a good look for him. Hopefully he gets it together. But I thought the story was interesting. I was really looking at this, the other day, and I was like, man, this isn't good for him. So I just wanted to come on here and cover that story, guys. But that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I really appreciate it. Shout out to my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to smash that like button on your way out as well, too. I'll be back again tomorrow with more content. And until next time.